Hello, my name is Bulabo Mahekeno from HEBO Consult, which is a project management training and consulting firm. Here we work to upskill and reskill professionals in various different industries with global standard project management credentials, project management skills, and also capabilities to be able to effectively execute different projects and succeed in the market. Today with me is Miss Kemi Kalikawe, a creative consultant in the fashion and design industry. Kemi's been working for over a decade in this industry as a creative consultant who advocates for the growth in the fashion and the design industry. Kemi is doing a lot of interesting work that she's going to share with us today, especially in incorporating technology and digitizing the creative work that is done in the fashion industry. She is also the founder of Naledi Dream Center, a project that is about 2 years old now, and it's doing a lot of work in education, educating different players in the industry, and also advocating for growth and adoption of technology in the fashion industry. I am very intrigued by the work that you're doing, Kemi.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Maybe you can start by telling us about Naledi Dream Center. What was the vision behind your project, and how is it going so far?
Over the years, one thing that I can say is that I've been fortunate to be able to expose to different places in the world through fashion because of my fashion background. And a lot of those places, there was a lot of education. I remember a trip to the US, which was, they opened us up to this market. And it was like, we were waiting for African women to bring that stuff here. And yet there was a lot that we needed to do before we could access it fully to its full potential. AGOA. It's one of the big ones where, and then I've had opportunities to travel with different designers all over the world, and all of them, when you speak to them, they have stories that they say about their industry. So somebody will be like, oh, I'm selling my patterns to a factory. They're a designer, but they're like, yeah, we sell our patterns to a factory. Like, which designer in Tanzania is doing that, and why aren't we doing it? So then getting invited to different women's organizations here in Dar es Salaam, all over Tanzania, and just one session or maybe 2-3 days with this group of women, depending on where you are, sometimes you're getting like 100 women all together, and they're like, okay, we want this knowledge that you have. I'm like, I'm only here for 2 days. How can I give you all this knowledge in 2 days? And I also worked for the British Council at the beginning of my career, and my job was to find young talent and showcase that young talent on a platform called WAPI, which is Words and Pictures. And after the program finished, it was amazing that we got to showcase designers all over Tanzania. We went from Bukoba to Arusha to, Zanzibar, everywhere. But as you're looking and showcasing these talents, you're seeing that there's a lot of things that they still need to learn. So this is when the idea came of saying, okay, somehow we need to educate. But how do we educate? How am I going to be reaching that lady in Mbeya? If I'm here, I can't be flying to Mbeya constantly, and there is no fashion schools in Tanzania.
Yeah.
There's different fashion projects, there's different, I'm so happy to see fashion designers, kind of starting to do some kind of programs for training. But there's no particular school and no place, and it's very small intakes also. When you look at Swahili Fashion Week and the amount of designers who apply to be there, and not even all of them are able to actually. So there is a huge amount of designers in Tanzania, but none of them are educated. So we complain about the standards that designers will bring, but some things is not their fault. It's because there is no education. So now what I decided was, okay, let me try to see. Everybody else in the world is learning online. And I learned fashion design online, funnily enough. My mother used to sew when I was a child, so I learned how to sew from her. But to sew a dress myself, I more sat down and was like, okay, let me go online and see how people are doing it. And that's how I learned. I have a background in interior design, that's what I studied, so I have this thing about colors and all of that, which has got to do with fashion as well. So it was a natural progression. So I said, okay, now, if I learned this online, why can't we teach other people online as well? But I wanted to test it out. So Naledi Dream Center became a pilot project just to test out how would online training work in the fashion industry, because there's been training done in many different industries successfully, I believe. Yeah. But because fashion is such a hands-on thing, people don't believe it can be done online. Which I think is actually the opposite, because it's easier to just watch a video and see somebody doing something and you follow them. So the big challenge, of course, there was language. So we applied for a course an international course, and we taught that international course, fashion design course, to a group of, we actually just got 10 different people, and we said, hey, we want to test you guys out. This is from different walks of life. Some of them were graduates and were ready, actually, some of them were studying to be doctors, and then others were primary school dropouts, standard 3, 4 dropouts. Some of them had a disability, so it was a really mixed group, because it was meant to see which one of these is going to get this information and actually be able to use it. And it was 4 months course where we had a TV which was showing the videos of the person in the US doing a training, and I was there to facilitate and translate into Swahili, because half of the class didn't know English, half of them did. And that's how it kind of, through that program, there was a joke which kept on going, press pause, because it would be like, okay, wait, we're confused, press pause, explain. So we would press pause, and then I would explain the concept, and then after that we'd carry on, and then like, should I press play? They're like, yes, we've got it now, press play. So we kept on going like that, and at the end of the program, we had a fashion show, and the designs that were coming out of people, you know, I was just like...
Amazing.
And I think if I could look back at it, the top 2 designers were from opposite spectrums. One of them was the one who was studying to be a doctor, and the other one was the standard 3 dropout.
Okay.
They were some of the top, and everyone in between there did an amazing job. This is 3 months of training online. I'm not a certified teacher. I'm not, but right now, 50% of them are working for an Italian company, which is producing fashion here in Tanzania for the Italian market. 50% of them.
Okay.
Till now, this is 2 years later, they're still in the industry. Some of them, the unfortunate thing, 2 of them got pregnant, unfortunately, which...
Well, that's fortunate as well. They can still come back to it.
They can still come back, but I think it meant that they didn't manage to finish their course. But I think even what they came out with already, because I speak to some of them, and it's like, you can see that they still got somewhere with the information. So that was the major thing. So it's I'm seeing how can we upscale this now from this small group, imagine it in all over Tanzania.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
Because you also see the need for it.
I see the need for it in every mkoa in Tanzania. The amount of women's groups who are I appreciate all the work that people are doing in terms of training women to sew. That is one of the big things that if you want to start a women's group, most of them will learn how to sew. But then what is the quality that they're sewing to? Is it actually going to, you want to, the women to thrive from it, not just to kind of make,
Get by.
yes, you want them to say, hey, we've built, with that money, we've built a school in our community. We've educated, our children have been majorly educated. We've changed our community. We are leaders because of what we're doing. But they can't get there if all it is an extreme basic. Yes, you've gotten to the basic. Now, how do we take them higher? And the basic is good because you need people to be able to survive.
And you need to bring out that passion. I can see the way you're talking about it. You're obviously very passionate about the fashion, the design industry. You're a very creative person. Just to take you back a little bit, when you talked about the scales, because we know the fashion industry traditionally is known to be female dominated, but you've also spoken about a lot of challenges in scaling up from ground level, which is just sewing, into, you know, becoming more diverse and actually growing businesses that would be sustainable just from fashion and designing. So being the theme of this year's International Women's Day is breaking the bias, let's talk a little bit about the fashion industry, which is known to be female dominated. How are the scales there from your perspective?
Yes, fashion is mostly dominated by women, but the thing is that many of them, it's small scale. Many of them, they still need to upscale their skills a lot, and all of that then comes into them going into some kind of class or having to go learn from a certain tailor somewhere. But then, and most of those are usually male tailors who would, in the tailoring side, I think I would say men more dominate in the tailoring side, and women more dominate in the design and the selling side.
Okay.
So in that aspect, we need to say, okay, how do we get more women to be proper tailors, knowing, and maybe because you have to go and learn from another male, maybe some families might have a problem with that. Might be one of the reasons why not more are doing it. Of course, there's also access to finance to be able to do that, because then if you're going to learn from another tailor, you have to pay them as well. So how many of them actually have access to that kind of money when you have to choose, okay, do I use this money to feed my child? Or because women are mostly, many times, the ones who are thinking of, okay, how are we running our home? So the money that they would be using, it's always a thing of saying, do we use it for running our home and feeding our children, or do we use it to go learn how to do proper tailoring? No, I know the basics. I can do this at home, where I can have my cherehani, nyumbani, still take care of the kids and still sew, but that means that they're not growing.
Yeah.
Because, so the programs sort of have to be in a way that you are not, the charging part of it is not part of the package. There needs to be a different way to incentivize them to do a training. And I think that's something that we need to brainstorm more on and think, okay, for us, when we've done our trainings, we've done them free, where it's, okay, come, learn, and then go use this for your different spaces. Unless we've done it with an organization, if you're doing it even with TWCC, so we did a program with them, and we were training women there, women who were already in the fashion industry, but now trying to see how do we upscale them. And that program they were not paying to be part of that program, but they had to be part of TWCC.
Okay.
but they weren't paying to be part of that program. So it meant that you wouldn't be, the conflict is just you have the time to be able to leave and come here, you know, make sure your kids are with somebody, and then you're able to actually attend the lessons.
Yeah.
They have to be short because these are
Gotta go back.
working mothers, most of them, or they're just juggling life, you know.
Yeah.
So I think those are the challenges. And then of course when you think of technology, technology is not really very much associated with women most of the time, which is such a shame, and especially in the creative industry. The rest of the world is doing it. We need to just catch up. But if you're living, depending on where you're living, the technology which I can say is been better adapted by women is Instagram selling. That's the one which I would be like, okay, women are dominating selling products online, you know, especially when it comes to the fashion section. It's the people, if you look at the amount of people who are selling products, and it's good for them because that way you can be at home and still have an access to market. So you can see how technology has changed people's lives there.
Yes.
So the more you can adapt it, the more, and it's, I mean, Instagram at a certain point was something which people would have never thought would work.
Yeah.
But look now, so it means that let's not be too scared about trying things out. Women are able to grasp these things. It's not an impossibility.
And quicker.
And quicker.
Yeah.
Because they need it fast. They need to move, you know, and catch up.
Exactly.
So I think let's be open and not closed off to different ways of how to use technology to better women's growth in different sectors, but especially for us in the creative sector.
Interesting. Thank you, Kemi. So you've spoken about several different challenges. One of the ones that caught my attention is access to information, which you're doing a great job with your project, Naledi Center. You've spoken about financing, challenges with access to finance, and obviously to adopt technology, which somewhat links back to financing as well. So what would you say, or what advice would you have to stakeholders out there who are supporting the creative industry of fashion and design? What can the different stakeholders do to continue to support women and to support the growth of the industry in general?
I think definitely let's be 100% honest that right now technology is almost a basic human need. And from the lady in Kariakor to the lady in I don't know what deep parts of Tanzania you can think of, they all need this to be able to say, okay, you know what, I don't have a job, I don't have education here, but I don't have to travel and leave to be able to get education. And the way to do that, and the fastest way to educate, is through technology. That way you meet people where they are, and you don't say, oh, all the programs are in Dar es Salaam, or all the programs are in Arusha, or what happens to those other people who cannot come? The program that we did with TWCC, luckily enough, some of the women were from Mikoani, and they got to attend some of the classes online. And they got to, so they still got to get an education, even though they didn't have to travel every time there was a session going on. So if that can happen, I think I'm looking at connectivity, but maybe also connectivity for the different centers. If there is different centers offering some kind of courses on tailoring and sewing, those are the places where you're saying, get them connected. Right. Because yes, it might be hard to give everybody a laptop and a computer, but it's easier to say, hey, this center there, this Serikali ya Mtaa over there, this whichever place, you know, can we get that place? They are already teaching basics. How can we upscale them a little bit so that they get access? Because already they're already training this.
Yeah.
So they have some kind of, they are able to facilitate some of these classes because they're already trainers. So now it's creating programs that are Swahili based, for sure.
Yes.
One of the big things is all the information which you can access. So if, and that takes, for that kind of content to be made, takes funding.
Yeah.
Recording all of those classes, and saying, okay, this is, and then adapting any information to be localized, you know? Okay, that lady may not be able to get that same ruler that you're using for pattern making, but what can they use where they are?
Yeah.
So all of that needs research. It needs to be, of course, the production companies that would have to produce these, the trainers who are going to have to learn how to teach things online as well, because I think we have to adapt it differently.
Exactly.
It's not impossible, but you just have to tweak it a little bit so that a woman anywhere can be able to access this information.
Right.
So financing for that, I mean, we had, when we started Naledi Dream Center, it was through my own finances. And I said, it's a project. We're going to test it out and see if it works. And it was great that it worked. And so, but then COVID hit, right? Right when we were just like, yay, we've done the show now, and now maybe we're thinking of getting the second, maybe a second group of people. Maybe let's do this. And it was COVID hit. And so we were like, okay, we have to shut down. But I'm grateful to links that I had with the British Council, where they had different trainings on how to pivot the creative sector. How do you pivot during this time? What do you offer now? And in the classes, it was online class, of course. And you had people from the Philippines who were running creative spaces. You had people from the US, from Britain, everywhere. We were all together and sharing these ideas of, okay, what do we do now that, and a lot of it was like, okay, now we gotta go online.
Exactly.
And that's when for us, we really realized that online is the
Unavoidable.
way forward. It's too late to go backwards. We just have to move forward. And there's no, even as we're doing the traditional training, we need to slowly bring in technology in small ways. Bring it in, test it out. You know, if companies would be saying, okay, you know what, we are gonna pay for a pilot in this, like, small village somewhere. Can this work?
Yeah.
Test it out. Keep innovating it. 2 years, a year from now, things will be so different. I mean, the amount of people, I went to the Italian Fashion Week, and I remember, Milan Fashion Week. And I remember I walked around, and one of my big things was, okay, would these people be willing to train women online? So I started talking to the different designers all over, and this is exhibition, so it was like designers from all over, from Scotland to Peru to wherever, were all there. And a lot of them were very, yes, we are willing to do it.
Right.
And you know what? A lot of them started changing the way I was thinking about things, because they were like, what if we train them and then they actually make our products for us? So you're like,
So if we even create a market,
you're
for the
creating,
products.
so this is what can happen with online training, because somebody knows, there's Scotland, there's this lady who was doing these beautiful tie and dye pieces. The quality was extremely high. And she was like, if I can train women, I would be willing to train them to do this, and they can produce for me, because right now I'm producing in Asia, and the market is moving from Asia to Africa now. This is our time.
Yeah.
So that woman who's doing, how many women in Tanzania do tie and dye? Just
Right.
upscaling them a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunities out there for growth, opportunities for scaling. Um, Stakeholders who are listening to you right now would agree to that, and thank you for shedding some light on the different challenges that are out there. We have a big challenge in connectivity, even though we're in it's a female-dominated industry, as we say, or as we like to think of it. It's still somewhat male dominated because females are dominating on the lower aspect, but the production, the tailoring and the production is still very much
Yes.
and we need to get the women access to funds, access to information, access to technology, and I think that's part of the elements that your project is aiming to cover. So finally, what advice would you give the younger women out there who are aspiring to grow in the creative industry of fashion and design, considering all of the challenges that are out there? What would you want to tell them?
I think it's don't be scared to fail and to try, because don't be afraid to reach out. Just try. You know, there's that thing in marketing, which I think, I don't know if it's in marketing, where you can knock on 100 doors and only one will open, you know, door-to-door sales, something like that. And that one person might just be the person who you need, who will just open a door to many other things. That is how we got more into technology. We brought in a program called Clo 3D, and that was just me saying, okay, you know what? Let's reach out to this company in Germany, which is doing drawing fashion online and making an avatar so that you could just see your outfit before you even produce it. I'm like, okay, I mean, we are already having so many challenges. Why don't we use this? Let's take this and kind of fix the whole manufacturing side of our, the link between manufacturers and designers.
Right.
And they said, yes, we would be very willing to train people in Tanzania to do this. And it was really just throwing the net and saying, maybe they'll say yes. And then they said yes and said, you know what, we'll do it for free. Something which was worth over 10,000. 10,000 pounds.
Wow.
They were like, we can do this. So it's you just saying, let me try. You never know who's going to say yes. And then if they say no, so what?
Try again.
You just try again. So, and another thing is just consistency. Like, I think people out here heard me singing this song about the fashion industry for, I don't know how long. I now go into meetings with people and they're like, oh, Kemi. Like, yeah, I'm still here. And whether it is stakeholders or whoever, you know that people are only going to really take you seriously the more you're consistent about your message and what it is that you're doing. So maybe at the beginning you don't know what it is, but start learning whatever it is that you want to get into. And this is for any industry. I believe you need to know your industry. So I read a lot about my industry, all the different papers that have been written about the, not fashion industry, but the textile and cotton, and go visit the cotton boards, go visit, you know, like, get deep to know this is your industry. What's the background of it? What challenges, you're having a challenge with fabric, but it doesn't start from that. It starts from the cotton. It starts from the importation of goods. It starts from all of that. You know, when a tax goes up, you need to be aware. You need to be, so you need to be immersed in whatever it is that you're doing, so that when you speak about it, you speak about it out of a knowledge and you will always be learning. So you're not going to know everything, but know as much as you can. Be willing to read about your industry, be willing to take the time, you know. I'm not a great reader, so I do audiobooks. And I scan I scan all these papers and I listen. And
Great thing about technology.
Technology, you know. I scan the book and there you go. All that information. So as I'm doing other things, I'm listening and I pause and I'm like, oh, that's the problem. Yeah. That's why this is like that. All these recommendations, somebody has already done them. Somebody's already said something about them. You are just adding on, but you can't add on if you don't even know. So listen more, read more, attend events, because networking and knowing, but not networking in terms of just the beauty side of it, because I feel like there's also that networking of just fashion shows. This industry is a business. It's not just glamour. The actual side of it is business and it's hard. And the glamour side of it is 10%. You know, before you can get that dress on the runway, what has all the processes that has made it to get to there? Before it can be in that magazine, before you get called out to go to Italy or wherever, what have you done before? Yeah. Not just the beauty side. And I feel like that if people can see that and know that, I have a book for fashion and the first page, when you open it, it said, it's hard.
Interesting.
Don't think it's just, no, it's hard. Yeah. But just keep at it and things will open up.
Great lessons, Kemi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good lessons. Throw in that net. That's what I'm taking out of this. Throw in the net. Keep going. Yeah. Immerse yourself. If you're passionate about the industry, immerse yourself in it. Throw in the net. Keep learning. It's never ending. Network and just keep going. If you fail, try it again. Put yourself out there. Continue to learn, and it's going to be great. I think it is glamorous, by the way. Even though it's not just the glamour that we see, but it is glamorous, and that's lovely. Fun, creative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
As a project management firm, HEBO seeks to upskill and reskill professionals in all fields who are actually managing and leading projects. What I want to do is encourage all the women out there to continue to pursue your dreams, continue to upskill and diversify and manage those projects and lead your teams accordingly.